392 Shakedown. We're back out here on the trail, and today we're going to be talking about recovery gear. Now, the number one rule of four-wheeling is to make sure that you don't go by yourself. Because out here, if you're by yourself, you're really by yourself. Now, before I jump to the back of the Jeep and go through the recovery gear that I keep with me, I wanted to offer a quick tip. If you haven't aired down your tires before hitting the trail, or maybe you're not running beadlocks, so you're at more of a medium pressure, like 20 psi. If that's the case, consider airing your tire down to 10 or 12 psi and seeing if that can get you out of whatever you're stuck in. Now, if you're like me and running beadlocks, it's likely that you're already at a low pressure, maybe 6 or 8 psi. And if that's the case, your first resort is probably going to be looking at the recovery gear you have with you. Now, of course, a great tool to have on your Jeep is a winch. And that is an awesome way to get yourself out of a lot of different types of situations. So obviously this counts as a big piece of recovery gear, but they are expensive. And you know what? You can carry recovery gear with you that isn't necessarily a winch. We're gonna head to the back of the Jeep and I'm gonna show you what I always keep with me. Well, this is Genji, and hold up, boy. He probably can't pull the Jeep out, but we're gonna look at some of the stuff I have in here that can. Good boy, okay. All right, so if you watched my latest video, I go through what's in this tub. And this tub has all of my tools. So while they are part of recovery gear in a sense of the term, I'm not gonna go through this tub today because I consider that more of my trail toolkit. Check out my other video, link in the description. Now, one thing I do have back here that I really love are these X-Cargo saddlebags, or at least that's what I call them. And they mount to the back of your roll bar and offer some additional storage. I typically keep a lot of my recovery gear in these saddlebags because I always have access to them, even when I'm camping and I have a bunch of gear back here, or when Genji is back here on top of the cargo space. Let's take a look at what I have in these saddlebags. Okay, so starting off, I have a 15-foot tow strap. You can use this to go around a tree or a rock, or not a rock, but a big boulder. And it can also be used as an extension. I have a 30-foot tow strap. Again, this can be used to help pull someone out. It can be used to extend your winch line. A snatch block. If you have a winch, critical to keep a snatch block with you because it can help you change directions on your pole. And also if you keep a couple of these, it can also increase the amount of force on your pole. Now I'm going to move to the other side. In there, I keep another snatch block. As I mentioned, snatch blocks are great tools to have, especially if you have a winch. Even if you don't have a winch, it's not a bad idea to keep one in your Jeep so that if you're Jeeping with somebody that does have a winch, you can utilize your snatch block to help, in combination with other snatch blocks, double your pulling power or even triple your pulling power on a winch line. Now, another really important tool to keep with you if you have a winch is some type of synthetic rope splicing tool. This is a Factor 55 tool that I've always kept in my Jeep. And basically what this allows you to do is if you snap your winch line, your synthetic winch line, this can help you rethread the end of the winch line back into itself to recreate another loop. Highly recommend carrying one of these if you have a winch that has a synthetic rope. Now, I also carry with me a few, well, 2 smaller soft shackles. These are 1/4 inch and they're rated to about 11,000 pounds. So they're very strong. The reason I like having these narrower or smaller soft shackles is because a lot of times out here on the trails, you may run into side-by-sides or smaller ATVs that don't necessarily have a large recovery point on them that allows you to use a bow shackle or a larger full-size soft shackle. So these are great. These are Gator Jaws. I'm not affiliated, but they do offer some great products. Now, in addition to these smaller soft shackles, I do carry 2 full-size soft shackles. And you probably noticed that on the front of the Jeep, I actually just keep a soft shackle connected to the loop on my winch line. So that just makes it convenient. There's a lot of different ways to set up your winch line. I highly recommend checking out, Warn or Factor 55. They've got a lot of great tips and information out there. So choose something that works well for you. What I've pulled out so far is typically enough for me to get out of whatever situation I may be in or to help assist whoever may be stuck. Now, I do keep a couple extra pieces of recovery gear underneath this, the rear cargo storage door. And underneath here, I just keep 2 bow shackles. Now, I'll let you all correct me in the comments. I'm sure there's a few different names for these, but just a couple of good 3/4 inch solid steel bow shackles are great to have. And then the last piece that I have in here is another 10-foot tow strap that it can either be used as a tree saver or to extend one of these other straps or the winch line. So that's what I keep in the back of the Jeep. But there is one more piece of recovery gear that I think every 4-wheeler should keep in their vehicle at all times. Let's take a look. And I keep this tucked up behind the passenger seat and in between the roll bar. But this right here is a shovel, just a regular spade shovel. I keep it in a fabric bag that, as you can see, I've put some foam padding in there just to keep it from smashing against the window or around in the back. But having a good solid shovel with you at all times is a great idea because it can help get you out of a lot of situations. Now, something I will say about shovels is that there are a lot of different off-road branded shovels. There's some with the serrated edges, there's some that are collapsible. I've found that really your best bet is to head to your local IFA or Cal Ranch or Lowe's, whatever store you prefer, and just get yourself a regular shovel. Because a lot of those smaller folding shovels or the ones with the serrated edges, they look cool and they sound like they'll be great for a Jeep that has limited space. But once you put them to use, they don't always last as long, and they're certainly not as durable as just a solid shovel. Lastly, I'd like to share a few items that some of you may not consider as recovery gear, but I certainly think they're important to consider when putting a kit together for your vehicle. The first of which is a good pair of leather gloves. Leather gloves are great for cold things, hot things, and sharp things. Throw them under your seat and forget about them. The next thing I have here is a silky wood saw. These are great to have around camp and have a variety of uses. The last item I have here is about 75 feet of static climbing rope. Now, I am not a climber, but rope has a multitude of applications when you are out on the trail, in the wilderness, or just on a weekend camping trip. I've used this rope to tie up a hitch line that I hook Genji to so he doesn't wander too far off and away from camp. And I've also used this rope on hikes to make sure that we can get through different crack canyons or slot canyons down in southern Utah. In any case, I highly recommend considering keeping some good rope in your vehicle at all times. And with that, everybody, I hope you have an awesome day. Stay safe out there, and please stay on the trails. Take care.